The fourth stop on the schedule takes us to Glendale, Phoenix. This week's track is very unique with a sand section, turning rhythm lane and a long set of whoops. 250 points leader will have a night to forget here in Phoenix. The MV Films rider Logan Lightsall was suffering from a minor problem and missed the main event. This makes us certain to have a new leader come Oakland. 450 red plate holder Connor Linz would be looking to extend his slender championship lead over the likes of Russ Chapman and Jesse Mullins. Let's get underway with the highlights from the 250 main event. With the 250 riders now halfway through their season, things up front were still tight, but grabbing the early initiative here in Phoenix would be Supercross, riding for the new Fast House Suzuki team. He would lead from Mancake's Ryan Mahan and Mats Årstad. Jake Rose would find himself on the ground early on, after an aggressive move by Linus Göransson. Rose would have to charge hard to limit the amount of points he would lose in the championship chase. Lap 2 would see Dylan Gatland, who advanced through the LCQ in 4th place. The motor chasing Yamaha rider was looking really good early into his pro career. By lap 4, Ben Seberg had made his way into 2nd place. He would find himself less than a second behind Mats Årstad. Relaxer tyre riders Jack Haley and Holden Coate had now found themselves in 1st and 2nd. The two Suzuki riders had capitalised on mistakes from the leaders. By lap 6, Jake Rose had made his way into 12th place. He was just behind the Dutchman Tristan Botteram and Axel Chotin. The Architect rider made this dive down the inside of Botteram to secure 11th place. Our early race leader Zoe Cross was still holding down a solid 6th place. The Suzuki rider looked fast, but in order to breach into the top 3, he would have to limit his mistakes, as they seemed to be really costing him. Lap 8 saw an intense battle for 2nd brewing. Gatland, Seberg and Årstad were trading paint and were really excited in the packed stadium. The man with the best view though was Ryan Mahan. The Mancape rider was less than a second behind this battle and was ready to pick up the pieces. This materialised when Årstad landed on Seberg, handing Mahan 3rd place. After missing the opening round, Jack Haley didn't seem to be a title contender, but the American is showing some great form and is still mounting a charge for the title. He had now stretched his lead over 2nd place Ryan Mahan to 18 seconds. Evergood's Edward Mora was having his best main of the season. The Honda mountain rider was sat in 6th place behind Mats Årstad, but made this clean pass to move inside the top 5. After a terrible opening couple of laps, Harry White was in last place, but the Brit showed some true determination to stick with Jake Rose and move all the way up to 9th place. The Battle of the Brits had begun on lap 11. Both riders were gunning for the red plate, and now Jake Rose had passed Seberg after he got together with Mats Årstad. This must have been a morale booster for Rose after his awful start. Harry White had now progressed even further. The TM Factory Racing rider was in 7th, and with only a handful of laps to go, he looked set to make it back-to-back top 10 finishes. But the youngster would feel the heat towards the end and eventually drop down to 11th at the finish. Jake Rose had now made it up to 4th place. With 1.5 laps to go, this was a great performance from him, and this kind of ride shows how serious of a title contender he is. And remember, you win your championships on your bad days. But for the 2nd time this season, it would be Jack Haley taking the 26 points. The Relaxer tyre rider barely put a wheel wrong, and was fast becoming a serious threat to Seberg and Rose for the title. Coming home in 2nd was Ryan Mahan, and in 3rd it would be Zoe Cross. This week's 250 Rider of the Week is Fast House Suzuki's Zoe Cross. After making the bold decision to leave motor chasing Yamaha during the week, Zoe would not have expected to adapt to the RMZ 250 as well as he has. The American led early on tonight, but a few mistakes cost him positions and time, but he kept his focus and powered his new machine onto the podium. Taking maximum points in the top step on the podium tonight would be Jack Haley. He would beat Ryan Mahan in 2nd and Zoe Cross in 3rd. Jake Rose rescued some great points to finish 4th place ahead of Dutchman Tristan Botteram. Ben Seberg didn't look as comfortable this week, but still finished in a creditable 6th place. Edward Mora came home in 7th ahead of fellow American Holden Coate. Rounding out the top 10 was 2 riders who were fighting for a top 3 all night, Dylan Gatland and Mats Årstad. Jake Rose will be heading to Oakland with a red plate aboard his Architect Honda. He leads Seberg by just 2 points, and remarkably after missing round 1, Jack Haley moves up to 3rd spot in the championship. He's just now 8 points down on leader Jake Rose. The anticipation for the 450 main event was high. Holding their nerve best would be championship leader Conor Lins. He would just beat fast starting Frenchman Alexis Leclerc to the whole shop. Dennis Fjellberg was in third place just behind Leclerc. The Dane had a mixed start to 2018 and would need to find some consistency to mount a real title charge. Russ Chapman was on the prowl. The INAB rider had the top 3 in these sights early on, and he looked very fast on this tight technical track. The battle for the lead was hotting up. Leclerc looked probably the best he has all year and was forcing Lins into mistakes. Lins then overjumped the triple, which allowed Leclerc to make the move down the inside. The pair then went into the whoops together, and Lins pulled alongside the Frenchman. Lins then retook the lead down the inside, and he looked really fired up, and he didn't look ready to give up his lead. Lap 5 saw ART rider Jeremy Seabolt move past Leclerc into second. He set about pressuring Lins straight away, and he almost made the move here, but the Brit resisted the pressure. Russ Chapman was now in the lead, but he was not alone. He had Mullins, his teammate Leclerc, Jeremy Seabolt and Lins just behind. Lins gave up the lead after overjumping in a section and having to go around a berm. Hunter Root had now breached into the top group and was in 5th place. The experienced Vulcan rider was still yet to win this season, but was clicking off consistent top 5s every round. Chapman was having to push hard to keep his teammate Leclerc at a good distance. The American then pushed a little too hard and had a big crash. This passed the lead to Leclerc, who was looking very smooth tonight. Jesse Mullins and Russ Chapman were duelling for 2nd place. Mullins wanted redemption after a poor showing at A2. He looked a lot more at ease with the Phoenix track and was keeping the Husqvarna of Chapman at bay. Last week's Rider of the Night, Atom Holm, was having a tougher night this week. The MV Films rider was in 10th place on lap 17, but he did have Fred Hever and Dennis Fjellberg just ahead of him. Mullins was closing in on Leclerc ever so slightly, but at this stage of the race it may have been a little bit too late, although Mullins should be pleased with how his ride went after last week. But at the checkered flag it would be the Frenchman Alexis Leclerc taking the win, meaning there have been 4 different winners at the opening 4 rounds. Jesse Mullins would finish in 2nd, and Russ Chapman would round off the podium. Our 450 Rider of the Night is Jesse Mullins. After a disappointing night in Anaheim last week, Mullins bounced back superbly tonight. The Madcape rider didn't get off to the best of starts, but got his head down and charged hard through the field, and if there was a few more laps, we could have seen him on the top step of the podium. Taking the win tonight in Phoenix was iLab's Alexis Leclerc. He stood on the podium with Jesse Mullins and his teammate Russ Chapman in 2nd and 3rd respectively. Hunter Root put in another solid ride to come home 4th, ahead of Conor Lins, who will be very disappointed after leading early on. Teammates Jeremy Seabolt and Colton Mitchell came home in 6th and 7th, and Atom Holm produced a good end to the race to finish 8th. Fred Hever will be happy to finish the night in 9th, ahead of the Finnish rider Valtteri Tiainen. Russ Chapman will once again take the red plate, but this time he won't be alone. Conor Lins joins him as they are tied on points. Jesse Mullins just keeps hold of 3rd place in the championship, just ahead of Alexis Leclerc. We once again saw some great racing here in Phoenix. The competition this year is easily the toughest yet, and we are all looking forward to see how the championships develop. Join us next week back in California, where we will take to Oakland. Who will step up in the 250 class? Will there be 5 winners from 5 rounds in the 450 class? Join us next week to find out.